week with us, so it is only fitting that you end your week with us talking Alabama football. I mean, what else are we going to talk about? You're rocking and rolling right here with a number one form, number one ticket here for Crimson Tide football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine, TGIF Friday edition of the show, coming to you from the magic city of Birmingham, streaming this to you on YouTube. Speaking of the channel, go ahead right now, drop a thumbs up, give a like on the show, hit that subscribe button, turn all of those notifications on, hit that little bell so that way you can get all of the news, notes, information, and the conversation on your favorite program, that being Alabama football. We also got you covered here on Facebook and Twitter as well. All forms of social media streaming to you the show. We got a few things to dive into, a few things to discuss on this evening, including sitting down with Patrick Dowd, the breaking news reporter for us here at TDA. He was the one that put out the article on the potential college football playoff expansion to 12 teams. So we will get his thoughts and his intel on what he feels about the situation a little bit later on in the show. We'll also talk about, who's the biggest threat to Nick Saban and Alabama in terms of the Crimson Tide trying to repeat as national champions. We all understand that Alabama football is now a global thing. It's now 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days of the year. It's an ongoing, never-ending conversation. And one of the main questions that's always thrown in that conversation is who's the team, who's the coach, who's the biggest threat here to Coach Saban and the Crimson Tide. We'll dive into that. And then, there's been some small concerns about one Bryce Young where his size is concerned. And I'll get into why that's not a big issue here as this young man, sophomore, former five-star from California, looks to take this team and deliver it to a national championship. Guys, shout out my man John Ivory one time in the production studio doing his thing, and we want you as the fan base to be a part of the show. You do this by calling 205-448-1358. That is the number right there to let your voice be heard on the show. 205-448-1358, and one more time, 205-448-1358. Definitely want to hear from you on this evening. But we get into now. We jump into topic number one here of the conversation, and it goes back to what I was saying here on, Crimson Tide football. Nick Saban has done an unbelievable job in making this program like I said, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's nonstop when you talk Alabama football. It is an ongoing dialogue. It is a never-ending conversation, and it's become other teams are judged by Alabama. Their success is measured by the Crimson Tide. Like, for other teams out there, they can have a 10, 11, 12-win season, and they had a great year, and they had an exciting year, and they're about to pop a bottle of happiness, and then, national media goes, well, look at what Alabama did. Bama just won a national title. Bama just hoisted another crystal ball. Bama has just hoisted another college football playoff trophy, and your 10, 11, 12-win season just suddenly became insignificant because you have just been reminded that Nick Saban and Alabama has just hoisted another championship. So while other teams are compared to Alabama, Alabama is compared to itself. Nick Saban is compared to what he has done the previous year, what he has done the prior season. So it's a never-ending conversation. And for me here, the whole thought of it, has been for the Crimson Tide. It's when it loses a game. When Alabama loses a game, it becomes, oh my gosh, what happened? How could they lose? How could they let this happen? This is Alabama. Who needs to be fired? Who needs to go? Somebody needs to be fired because ain't no way Alabama should have lost this game. And even with last season, the Crimson Tide did not lose. Perfect season. But because Ole Miss and Florida played Alabama tough, you had the people that go or that win. That game shouldn't have been anywhere remotely close. Why was that game close? Somebody needs to be fired. Fire Pete Golden. He's the problem. He's the issue. He's the cause. He's the reason. Get rid of Pete Golden. It's a never-ending conversation. And when Alabama wins the national championship, it becomes, okay, how much longer can Coach Saban keep doing this? How much longer will he keep winning? How much longer will he remain on top? How much longer will he be at Alabama? Can somebody give me a round number, a ballpark estimate of how much longer Coach Saban will continue at the University of Alabama? And that's when Saban wins, and Alabama's winning championships. And then when you have players that leave the program to pursue the NFL draft or pursue the transfer portal or pursue graduation, then you have those fans that go, okay, we just lost so-and-so, we just lost that player, we just lost that dude, we just lost this dude. So, do we have the guys that can step up? Do we have the guys that can make plays? Do we have the 4 and 5 stars ready to emerge to become leaders and fill in that void? Because, we just lost so-and-so, and he was the greatest thing since sliced bread. We just lost so-and-so, and he was the greatest thing since the Easy Bake Oven. We just lost so-and-so, and he was the greatest thing since Teddy Grahams. Do we have the next guy in pocket ready to rock and roll? But of all of those questions and thoughts and concerns, arguably the biggest question that people have every year is, okay, who's the biggest threat? Whether it's a team, whether it's a coach, who's the biggest threat to Nick Saban? Who's the biggest challenge? Who's the biggest guy? Who's the biggest team that can, limit, knock off, hinder Saban and the Crimson Tide from winning a national championship and going back-to-back titles? This has become the biggest question. And for the longest of time, people thought that guy would be Urban Meyer. That has not become the case anymore since he, retired from college football, did the whole, we left college football, did the commentating thing, and now he's in the NFL with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then people thought, it would be Dabo Swinney, especially after Coach Swinney beat Nick Saban in a couple of national championship games. However, unfortunately, Swinney, the last 2 years, has taken a step back. Clemson lost to LSU in the 2020 title game off the 2019 season, and then the Tigers lost again in the 2020 semifinal round against Ohio State, and it lost Trevor Lawrence as well to the NFL draft. Now, of course, it's got DJ Uiagalelei, and that guy has a lot of big-time potential. The question is, can he do what Trevor Lawrence did and take this team to win a national championship with it? So people looked at Dabo Swinney. He's had some struggles here the last 2 years winning a title. We'll see what happens. But as of right now, the team that people are talking about that's the biggest threat, and we put up a poll here on the TDA YouTube channel about, which team's the biggest threat to Alabama and Nick Saban, and we had Oklahoma, Georgia, Clemson, Ohio State, and right now at 50%, at half the vote right now, probably even a little bit over half the vote right now, Georgia is leading in the poll. Georgia is leading here in the conversation. And I understand for a lot of you people out there, it's, can we pick a team that's on our schedule that can actually be the biggest threat? Can we actually pick a team on the current Alabama schedule? Well, we have reached a point in college football where the conversation is no more, who challenges Bama for the SEC. It's now who challenges Bama for the Natty. You just bypass the SEC. It's who challenges Alabama on a national scale for the national championship. That's become the marquee question that gets the ratings going, that gets the phones ringing, that gets the bills paid, that gets people fed, that keeps the lights on, that keeps the mortgage paid in the house. That's the biggest question. Who challenges Alabama on a national scale for the national championship? And For me, as good as LSU is going to be this year, it's going to be interesting to see how they're going to look. You got Miles Brennan back from injury. How is he going to look? How is he going to play? That's a big question there. Auburn's got a brand new head coach. There's not any real pressure on Auburn. They're going to give Coach Harsin, 3 years, or if not more, to get this thing right. And then you've got, there's some pressure on Texas A&M. With Florida, when you look at Dan Mullen, you have Florida fans that are not even really sold on Dan Mullen for real. Tennessee, they're trying to rebuild with Josh Heupel. Kentucky, they're good, but they don't really have the horses. Vanderbilt is Vanderbilt, obviously. Missouri, they've got some talent, they got some pieces, but like Kentucky, not necessarily having the horses. So right now, the reason why Georgia is the biggest threat, and it's not even necessarily due to the talent that Georgia has. It's the ever-increasing, it's the ever-growing pressure that is on Kirby Smart. Pressure will do something to you. Pressure will either make you or break you. One of the most embarrassing things in the human life, and there are a few embarrassing things that can happen to us, but arguably the most embarrassing thing that can happen to you is if you were to get fired from your job. And that's because of all the hoops you had to jump through, right, to get this job. You had to inquire about the job, ask around to people about the job, and then the countless applications you had to put in concerning the job. And then if you're like me, you're going up to the job site every day asking, have you seen my application? Have you looked at it? Have you checked? Have you even glanced at it? Have you looked at the application? Am I qualified? You have to go through all these different questions. And then you have the interview process, and then a second interview process if the program or if the company really likes you. And then upon you getting hired, you're trying everything possible to do your job and not lose the job. So when you get fired, a tape recorder plays back in your mind of all the stuff you just undid when you got fired from that particular job. So pressure does a lot of things to you. And for Kirby Smart, he spent 9 years, almost a decade, from 2007 to 2015 at the feet of Nick Saban, learning how to orchestrate, develop, run, get a winning culture, get a championship culture, from Coach Saban there in Alabama. So when Georgia made the move to hire him in the latter portion of the 2015 season, and he came to coach the Bulldogs starting off in 2016. He's entering his fifth year. The fan base over there in Athens, they were thinking, okay, we got a guy that has sat at the feet of Nick Saban, that has learned everything from this man about how to be successful, about how to be dominant, about how to craft and cultivate and develop a winning program. There has got to be something he's learned, something he's gleaned, something he's picked up that he can use to, at some point, beat Nick Saban, at some point, win a national championship, at some point, get our program something that it has longed to have since 1980, of course. And, Kirby's had some chances. Kirby's had some opportunities. 2018 national championship game off the 17 season, he had a lead. He was up by 13 points. But, unfortunately, backup quarterback comes into the game, Tua Tagovailoa, and rips his heart away from him. And then, but 2018 SEC championship, it happened again. Georgia had a lead up 28-21. Tua was hurt, had to be taken out of the game. Backup quarterback Jalen Hurts comes in, rips Kirby's heart out again. And then last season, where Kirby had the best defense on paper, you have Mac Jones beat that team by 17 points. And, for Smart, it's now you've got the national media and the local media saying, Kirby, no excuses. You went out there in that portal, you got Arik Gilbert from LSU and sipped a cup of coffee at Florida, but mainly from LSU. You got the cornerback from Clemson. You have on the transfer portal, Kirby. There's no excuse. You've got to win. You've got to win. So that massive pressure there is growing on Kirby. The Georgia fans are looking over, they're seeing, I'm tired of Nick Saban. I'm tired of Bama holding championships. I'm tired of Bama winning. I'm tired of looking at Saban hoisting the trophy. Kirby, win. How long? When is it going to finally be our time? You sat at the foot of this man for nearly a decade. When is it going to finally be our moment? Because right now, Kirby, we're looking like we hired the younger version of Mark Richt, who is just a better recruiter. When is it going to be our moment, Kirby? I feel like because of the ever-growing pressure on Kirby, he right now stands as the biggest threat here because he has got to get this done here for that Georgia fan base. But we take our first break here on the show. Don't touch that dial. Just getting started. Upon our return, we get into a conversation with you, the Bama fans. I mean, who do you think is the biggest threat to try to stop Alabama from going back-to-back titles? We'll talk to you after this.
You're watching In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith, brought to you by We Own the Fourth Quarter. Get your four-finger bling necklace today by visiting weownthefourthquarter.com. Throw them foes up. Every sports fan deserves the proper representation. Whitwell Sports introduces to you the Title Towel. Wave that Title Towel in the air like you just don't care in support of Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Only $9.99 and it lasts a lifetime. Head on over to whitwellsports.com and get your Title Towel today.
Remember the taste of Grandma's delicious sweets? Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes brings back those precious memories with just one bite. Each cake made from scratch. They make the perfect dessert to share with family and friends for any occasion, and ordering is easy. Visit emily'sheirloompoundcakes.com. Click the online store and shop. Then pick up your fresh cake at the kitchen in downtown Homewood. Order yours online at emily'sheirloompoundcakes.com. Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes, making memories from scratch.
As we are back inside the action here from the break on a Friday, TGIF edition of the show, ending that work week correctly. Number one forum for Bama football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Gotta shout out Mechanic, one-time Mechanic, who decided to handle the daily super chat, go all by himself, dropping in that $75, helping us out here on the show. Appreciate that love there coming from Mechanic. Once again, the daily super chat goes $75. Mechanic handling that by himself. But if you want to donate, we encourage everybody donating to the show, helping us out here. Touchdown Alabama Magazine. But we go to the phone lines right now to take your calls. Call segment brought to you by the Blue Wrench Gang, 205-448-1358. That is the number to call in to get your voice to be heard, 205-448-1358. We grab a call right now. You're live on the show. What's going on?
What's going on?
Doing well, and yourself?
How you doing?
You're breaking up. We can't quite hear you, caller.
Can you hear me?
Can't quite hear you, caller. A little bit louder. We're going to get back to that caller. Definitely going to get back to that caller. As always, 205-448-1358. That is the number to call in. When we take our next call, you're live on the show. What's going on?
I'm doing all right, Stephen. How you doing on this fine Friday?
Doing fantastic, man. Doing fantastic. Cannot complain here.
Yeah, this is William Bryant from the chat room, man.
William, what's going on, man?
Rota. Not much, man. I'm up here in Iowa, and the talk on the local talk radio up here is with this new system that they got going on with involving all the conferences getting a chance at the goal. And I was just wondering who you think might be up here on that part of it. Anyway, I don't see anybody but Ohio State, and they hadn't had much here to speak of. You know.
I mean,
thoughts on that?
I know. Ohio State's a good program. Ohio State, right behind Alabama, is really big on the recruiting trail, especially getting the 4- and 5-star talent. But to me, just at the end of the day, it is going to be hard to keep Nick Saban out of it. It's going to be hard to bump out Nick Saban because ways to work around everything. And we've seen where the powers that be, they've come up with different ways to try to make it tougher on him in Alabama, but he always tends to find a way around it. So he's going after his 8th national championship, his 7th for the Crimson Tide. It's going to be fun to see what Saban does this year. Appreciate that call coming in here from William Bryant, 205-448-1358 for number to call in. We take our next, well, we're actually going to go to a topic right here as you guys will continue to get your thoughts in to call into the show. But Coach Saban, speaking of him getting awards, speaking of him getting notoriety and getting honors here, Coach Saban recently picked up the Willie Jeffries Trailblazer Award, and this comes from the National Coalition of Minority Coaches. And this is really cool here because the National Coalition of Minority Coaches, they produce, they promote, they're all for minority coaches getting, opportunities all throughout the sport, all within the sport. And when you discuss Nick Saban, he has had a hand at Alabama in mentoring, tutoring, molding, producing a lot of black coaches. When you look at, the work he was able to do in helping Burton Burns and Bobby Williams, and then Bo Davis, and then the likes of Charles Huff, and when you look at Charlie Strong, you look at Holman Wiggins, you look at Josh Gaddis, you look at just Carl Dunbar. There's been so many black coaches to come through this program that Saban has lended a helping hand to. Derek Ansley, he's got Robert Gillespie in here. Like I mentioned, just so many big-name coaches that he has had a hand in guiding, speaking to, mentoring, prepping, helping those individuals become successful. And just the trio of Coach Locks and Mel Tucker and Charles Huff, all three of those went on to be head coaches. Mel Tucker at Michigan State, Coach Locks at Maryland, Charles Huff at the University at Marshall University. All three of those come from the Saban tree. All three of those come from the Saban era. So kudos to Coach Saban. Not only him being an ambassador for the players and wanting to make sure the student athletes have what they need and are well-rounded, well-adjusted, and focused on being productive athletes, but also getting the young coaches that they're willing to learn, they want to grow, they want the wisdom, they want the knowledge, they want the understanding, and Saban is able to share it with them in a way to where they pick it up, they glean from it, and they're able to take it and go forth to other programs and continue the Saban coaching tree there. But we take a call right now. You're live on the show. What's going on?
Steven, I just thought I'd call in here on Friday. I was looking about this playoff situation here. We got how many more games can these boys and kids keep playing?
Weighing it is crazy because, and I spoke about this on Wednesday, it was already tough enough to decide the best 4 teams, and now with this proposal of 12 teams, and I saw a couple of brackets about how they're going to try to get this to go, but I guess they're trying to have college football look like the NFL, have these guys playing 16 to 20 game seasons. I don't know.
Well, we got 11 games right now if you count the exhibition game in Atlanta. That's what I call it, the start-off game, just to get the season going. Then your regular season, that's 11, and then you got to count one more, 12 for the SEC championship. Am I counting right here? Am I right?
You're right. Keep going.
All right, then you break it down. There's 12 right there, right off the regular season, 12. All right, the first one to be 13, 14, 15, 16. You're looking at 16, 17 football games. I mean, these kids got to get an education. And all these people, if they're going to make these kids, I don't care which school it is, hey, I'd go say, hey, no pay, no play. That's the way it goes now. You going to pay us to play or we ain't going to play. So they deserve something, Stephen, for what they're doing because some of these guys are getting career-ending injuries in college and can't go on to the NFL. I do believe they deserve some kind of compensation for this.
They do, and I remember just this past season where the Board of Governors for the NCAA, they had voted to have the name, image, and likeness start taking effect starting this year. Now, of course, the people that went back to vote and have a different conversation, and that thing has been punted down towards maybe the bottom portion of this year. But coming soon, there's going to be name, image, likeness. People have been yelling for it. They've been calling for it, screaming for it. I don't know how they're going to go about it with the potential stipend, but like you said, Waylon, because you're trying to increase college football, and I'm all for college football. I'm a consumer of the sport. I enjoy the sport, but at the same time, if you're going to say this is for the good of these athletes who put so much of a physical strain and a mental strain on themselves to appease these programs, then you got to have some type of stipend in the thing for them. We appreciate weighing in there for that call. Good feedback there coming from him. We're going to actually take a break right now, folks, on the show. But when we get back, we will sit down with Patrick Dowd, the breaking news reporter for TDA, to discuss more on this potential 12-team CFP expansion. We'll be back after this.
You know what we do at the start of the fourth quarter. We throw them foes up. But now you don't have to wait until the fourth quarter. Get your four-finger bling necklace at WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com. It's the first and only logo that captures the essence of all Crimson Tide players and fans as we represent the legendary Alabama football fourth quarter dominance. Get your four-finger bling necklace right now at WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com. Get yours today and stun on them haters. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
So that's it here, folks, to the action from the break on the number one forum for Bama football news on a Friday, TGIF edition of the show. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. But we go on over to the In My Own Words hotline, where we pick up a good friend of mine, the breaking news reporter for Touchdown Alabama Magazine, our own Patrick Dowd, who wrote the story on the potential CFP expansion to 12 teams. Patman, how you doing? Welcome in.
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Stephen.
Absolutely. We got Patrick Dowd here joining us on the show. So Pat here, we all have heard the news. We've seen this go from the BCS to the college football playoff, and now in the playoff, the same old questions have come up about how it's the same old teams getting in, it's the same old powers. We want more opportunities for other programs, other teams, other student athletes to be involved. So now the CFP working group has come up with a 12-team expansion proposal for the playoff. Just what are your thoughts on this, and what were the thoughts that went through your mind as you saw the story and as you begin crafting the story for TDA?
Well, there's a couple ways to look at it. I mean, on one hand, it gives more exposure to the players, and with the new name, image, and likeness stuff coming into the future, it may be more opportunities for them to develop their brands and make more money that they actually deserve to make, since they generate so much for the sport itself. And even the new TV contracts that are probably going to come from this. It's more football games. It's just more money is going to be poured in from this. But I got to be honest, as a product, I think it kind of hurts the sport, because what was so unique about college football. And, since I've been on this earth, I haven't been on this earth for a very long time. But since I was born, the regular season has always mattered. It's mattered a ton. I mean, especially with Alabama fans, they can attest to this. A Saturday, just on the road in the SEC. I mean, how many close games, how many white knuckle experiences have they had with LSU or in Death Valley there? So, I mean, just looking at that, and a game like that might be taken away a bit. It's because now teams can afford to drop a game like that in the regular season and keep their hopes alive.
So, Pat, when you look at just the potential bracket or how the bracket could look, because I saw a number of different brackets from different sites, kind of discussing how the 12-team playoff could look like. Take me through the bracket. What's being explained here? Describe the bracket here to me.
Well, you got 14. So the 4 teams who are getting the bye are all the conference champions from the Power 5. So the four top ranked teams from the Power 5 conference champions all get a bye. Then you got teams 5 through 12 made up from all the other teams that are ranked in, and it does create more opportunity for smaller schools to get in. So the teams 5 through 12, they will all play each other, and they will move on to play those teams who had the bye. But I circle back around to that argument that I was making prior. So just looking at last year with a team like Coastal Carolina, who's ranked 12th, do we really need to see what Texas A&M is going to do to them? Because that's who they would have played, because A&M was ranked 5th. I mean, it's just kind of a little bit. It's just a little strange, in my eyes.
If you're just tuning into the show, we have our own Patrick Dowd, the breaking news reporter for Touchdown Alabama Magazine, on the phone lines. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of TDA, talking about the potential 12-team expansion here for the college football playoff. Pat, do you actually see this working? Because I've seen the extremes, and of course you've heard them too, on both ends. You've heard one side say this is not for the athletes, this is greed, this is all for the money. You have the other side going, wait, hold on. This gives more student athletes a chance to get into a venue that they've always wanted to be into. Do you truly see this working, Pat, if this goes as planned and this becomes set in stone being a 12-team playoff?
I mean, look, if there's any question of if this was about the money or not, I'm going to tell you right now, it was about the money. There's more games, more money. And at the same time, yeah, it is going to work. It's more football. At the end of the day, we can complain all we want about it and how it diminishes the regular season and everything like that. But, what are we going to do? Boycott the games? No, I'm going to still be watching every single one of the playoff games just because it's more football, and football is awesome.
Good point right there, coming from our own Patrick Dowd, senior breaking news reporter here for Touchdown Alabama Magazine. So here's the big question, Pat. Does this affect Alabama? Does this affect Alabama and Nick Saban in any way, shape, or form? Because we've seen where there have been so many times, once Saban masters something else gets thrown at him to see if it trips him up, and then the cycle kind of continues. So do you see this in any way affecting Alabama and Coach Saban?
I mean, it definitely does. I mean, every single Alabama or even SEC fatiguer out there, I mean, they better strap in because it's only going to get a lot worse. Because, I mean, since the inception of the playoff, Nick Saban's never had an Alabama team ranked outside of the top 10. So do you think they're ever really going to miss the playoff if they're letting 12 teams in? I mean, with his current reign of dominance, and he just had a great recruiting class. He signed extensions through 2028. I mean, Alabama's opportunity of competing for championships is going to extend even more into the future. And even depending on who takes over for Nick Saban, when that day eventually comes when he leaves, he could have already set them up great. All they have to do is get ranked inside the top 12, and they'll be on their way. So at the end of the day here, I mean, look, we can complain, yell all we want. It's more football, and it's still just a proposal. But if I was to bet money, I think this would be going through.
He's Patrick Dowd, people, the breaking news reporter for Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Join us live on the phone lines to discuss a potential, college football playoff expansion to 12 teams. It's the conversation that's been going on all week. Dowd writing the story for us here at TDA, providing his thoughts here on In My Own Words. Patrick, appreciate you coming on to give us the lowdown here on the potential expansion. You have a great day, my friend. Take care.
Right back at you, bud. See you later.
Absolutely. Patrick Dowd here joining us to talk about the potential expansion for the college football playoff. I said this on Wednesday. I'm cool with the expansion. I'm cool with inclusion. I'm cool with creating more opportunities. My thing is if we're going to do this, we got to make sure it's done correctly, and we got to make sure that, the student athlete is really taken into consideration. But at the end of the day, I also know sports is a part of the entertainment business, and part of entertainment is making money. How can we make money? How can we craft ratings? How can we get revenue? How can we create all eyeballs on this sport that everybody loves so much and consumes so much, and that being college football? But we take a break here on the show. Upon our return, we get back to the phone lines to entertain you, the Alabama football fans, right after this.
Don't touch that dial. Call in right now as we're taking your calls up next on In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith. Brought to you by We Own the Fourth Quarter. Visit WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com now to get your four-finger bling necklace. You know what we do at the start of the fourth quarter. We throw them foes up. But now you don't have to wait until the fourth quarter. Get your four-finger bling necklace at WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com. It's the first and only logo that captures the essence of all Crimson Tide players and fans as we represent the legendary Alabama football fourth quarter dominance. Get your four-finger bling necklace right now at WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com. Get yours today and stun on them haters. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide. Thank you for tuning in. Show your support right now by clicking that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now and enable all notifications to make sure you don't ever miss any of the best Alabama football news, notes, and information right here on Touchdown Alabama.
We are back in here, folks, from the break of a number one form for Bama football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. We're back on you, Tide fans. It's your time. 205-448-1358. Call lines open. 205-448-1358. That's the number to call in to let your voice be heard, your opinions be made known on this show. 205-448-1358. Definitely want to hear from you. Appreciate breaking news writer for TDA, breaking news reporter for TDA, Patrick Dow, joining us in the previous segment there. But as you guys are getting your thoughts together to call in, Julio Jones participated in his first OTA session with his new team, the Tennessee Titans, and he looked good, y'all. New number, new team, same beast. Looked good out there, running routes. We see the footwork, the agility, but change of direction, obviously the hands, we see it. Julio Jones is on a mission, and sometimes a player just needs a different change of scenery. He just needs to go somewhere else where he can recharge, he can rethink, he can refocus, and he can rechannel that energy. And he spent 10 seasons in Atlanta. Atlanta was always kind of stuck in the same rut, not necessarily moving forward, and of course that weighed on Jones a lot. So coming to Tennessee, where he's got kind of that Alabama hard-nosed, tough, big, winning type of culture there. When you look at Derrick Henry, who's got that mindset, A.J. Brown, who's got that mindset, though Brown comes from Ole Miss. You got Ryan Tannehill, who's got that mindset. You have another Bama player on the team, and Rashaan Evans, who's got that mindset defensively. And, of course, your head coach, Mike Vrabel, who played for Bill Belichick with the Patriots and some Super Bowls under his belt. He's got that mindset. So a new team, a new scenery, a new energy, a new mindset for Julio. And he said he's never been a stats guy. He's always been a team guy, despite the fact that in his first 10 years in the league, he totaled 7 1,000-yard seasons, including 5 1,400-yard campaigns. He's never been a numbers guy. He's never been a stats guy. He's always been about team. How can I help my team get better? How can I help my team improve? How can I help my team take it to the next level. As a matter of fact, if not for Julio, the Falcons do not reach the Super Bowl in the 2016 season. If not, for Julio, Matt Ryan does not have an MVP award. Now, Matt Ryan, a good quarterback. No, Julio was the reason why Matt Ryan got the MVP. I'm just saying. So to have Julio with the Titans, to have him with Derrick Henry, with A.J. Brown, with Mike Vrabel, with this team and this staff, I mean, he is hungry, he is dedicated, he's about trying to win championships now. He's about trying to win rings now. He's about trying to win Super Bowls now. And I've mentioned this before, he's in a great situation because now you cannot stack the box against Derrick Henry, because if you do, this opens up the slant route for Julio or an option route for Julio. This opens A.J. Brown on a post fade. This opens up the passing game for Ryan Tannehill. And then when you start to get sucked into the passing game, then that opens up Derrick Henry to now do his beastly work on the ground. So really excited for Julio as he's now working out well, doing great there in OTAs for the Titans. Gotta shout out Jimmy Clay right now. Boom, bam, let's do it. Jimmy Clay, that $25 donation into the Super Chats. Appreciate that love coming there from one Jimmy Clay. We go to a break right now, folks, but upon our return, we'll dive into, people have a slight concern about Bryce Young's size in terms of, can he take Alabama at the quarterback position and lead them to back-to-back national championships? We'll talk about the size of Bryce Young and how, to me, it's not that big of a deal right after this.
If you're an avid Alabama Crimson Tide fan and you love to flaunt it, then show your Alabama Crimson Tide support by grabbing the All-Bama sneakers. They feature bold Crimson Tide graphics, so no one will be able to question where your allegiance lies. When you add these sweet sneakers to your Alabama Crimson Tide collection, go to STSFootwear.com and use the code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. That's code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. Go to STSFootwear.com and get your All-Bama sneakers today. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide. Thank you for tuning in. Show your support right now by clicking that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now and enable all notifications to make sure you don't ever miss any of the best Alabama football news, notes, and information right here on Touchdown Alabama.
As we're back in here, folks, to the action from the break on the hottest show on the streets, in my own word, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Along with Jimmy Clay, we got to shout out William Bryan, that $49.99 in the Super Chats, helping us out here on the show. Appreciate the love they're coming from William Bryant, making this his show on the YouTube platform. And how could I forget, folks, I'm rocking another one of the TDA shirts, the TDA Wear, baby. TDA Wear, you gotta get you your shirts. You gotta copy that gear. Speaking of TDA Wear, you got to go to TDAwear.com, baby. You got to go to TDAwear.com. So for all of you fans that are overjoyed with the Tide's national championship, we want you to check out our championship collection merch. You got to grab you an 18 of them things, folk. Hoodie, t-shirt, or sweatshirt, as well as our Got 18 We Do shirts. Designs that feature all 18 championship years on the back. You head on over to TDAwear.com. Do it right now. Don't waste another second. Go to TDAwear.com. You go to that Championship Collections merch tab, and you get you that gear today, showing that support for Coach Saban, the University of Alabama, for student athletes, and us here at TDA. But now, jumping to the final topic of conversation here, there's been a slight concern. There's been little concerns here for Alabama fans when you discuss Bryce Young. And it's not his talent. It's not his ability. It's not his skill set. The concerns have been, Steven, he's not a big guy. I mean, Steven, I know the University of Alabama, they've got him listed at 6 feet, but when you look at him, he's more so 5'10", 5'11". Some can maybe argue 5'9", Steven. That size kind of scares me. Is he going to put some weight on? Is he going to put some muscle on? That frame, that size, Steven, it really kind of scares me. I don't know. I'm afraid. I don't want him to get hurt. I don't want him to get injured. I don't want him to take that really bad hit, Steven. That really kind of scares me. That size where Bryce Young is concerned. And I can understand where some of you may be coming from with that, because when you look at the quarterbacks that have won national championships at Alabama as starters, Greg McElroy was 6'2". A.J. McCarron was 6'4". Jacob Coker was 6'5". Mac Jones himself was 6'3". I mean, even the combination of the Jalen Hurts Tua Tagovailoa championship, Jalen Hurts was 6'2". Tua was about 6 feet, 6'1". So I can understand the concerns that you may have about, Bryce's size, and this is worrying me, this is concerning. He looks small, don't want him to take that big hit, and all of these other things. But to me, I feel like size is not necessarily a big deal in college football. I feel like in the NFL, they will nitpick you to death about your size. Go ask Devontae Smith. But of course, once you get on the field and prove your worth, then that type of conversation dies down. But I feel like in college football, size not necessarily a big deal. As long as you can lead your team, be productive, make the right plays on the field, be creative, have massive success. It doesn't really matter, what your size is. And remember, we watched Bryce the entire spring, have major success. Coach Saban talked about it. His team, his huddle, he's running it. He's taken command of this group. He's taken ownership of this group. He's been a vocal leader. Slade Bolden talked about it. Brian Robinson talked about it, among others. And we watched him in the spring game. Bryce Young was able to juke Byron Young out of his shoes and threw a wheel route to Roydell Williams that went for 48 yards. I mean, we saw him out there juke out a very talented, a very aggressive defensive end. And then we saw where when the pocket collapsed a little bit and there was some miscommunication on the offensive line and guys were coming at Bryce, we saw Young step up in the pocket and fire a dart to Cameron Latou that went for a 59-yard touchdown, the only touchdown score in that game. So we saw in a couple of instances where pressure was all around him, chaos was all around him, craziness was all around him, and Bryce Young was still able to step up, in the pocket, make plays, make throws, have success there, on the field. So just to me, in college, as long as you are leading your team, being a vocal guy, being a leader by example, making plays with your arm at the quarterback position, making the right reads mentally with your mind, setting the receivers up to be successful, and at the end of the day, keeping your team, as Coach Saban tends to say, in position to win football games, I feel like that's the biggest deal there. And when you look at it, in the NFL, we have seen quarterbacks that were not the biggest guys in the world, but had massive success. Take Drew Brees, for example. Drew Brees coming from Purdue, 6 feet even. This was a guy that, the New Orleans Saints, before Drew Brees, they were an abysmal. They were a horrible franchise. They were the Aints with paper bags on their heads. They were this close to losing the franchise. The Saints needed hope. The Saints needed somebody to come in and save them. And Drew Brees needed a team that would embrace him. Drew Brees to the Saints became the perfect marriage. The Saints went from almost losing the franchise to becoming, one of the top, 5 to 10 franchises consistently in the NFL. Each year that Drew played, started under center at quarterback. Brees delivered that franchise a Super Bowl, something that it never thought it was going to get. Drew Brees retires with just about every single major statistical passing record important to the NFL. He will go down as a Hall of Famer. He will be a Hall of Famer, and he wasn't the biggest guy in the world, but he made plays. He was a big-time leader. He was extremely accurate. He did what he was supposed to do, at that quarterback position right there. And then going from Brees, you look at Russell Wilson. Started off, he went from a North Carolina State, transferred to Wisconsin, got drafted to the Seattle Seahawks. Wilson only 5'11". This is a guy that's got a Super Bowl, should honestly have two, but that's besides the point. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but he is, if not one of the best quarterbacks in the game, certainly one of the most efficient and effective quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, this is a dude that makes big-time throws. He scrambles around. He extends plays. Got a tremendous deep ball, great accuracy, great precision. It is tough for opposing defenses to play against him. And, yes, he does take hits, but, once again, pops back up, makes plays. Not the biggest guy in the world, but one of the most effective, efficient, big-play quarterbacks in the pros, only at 5'11". And then you look at Kyler Murray for the Arizona Cardinals, only 5'11". No, he hasn't won a Super Bowl. No, we do not know if he will be a future Hall of Famer, but he is darn entertaining. He is darn intriguing. He has brought relevancy to the Arizona Cardinals to where you have to watch the Cardinals play. I got to see what is Kyler Murray going to do next. This brother was the Offensive Player of the Year in 2019, Offensive Rookie of the Year in 2019, made the Pro Bowl in 2020. I mean, the dude just makes plays. The dude just makes plays after plays after plays after plays, and it has come to it. It's not the fact that did the Cardinals make the right move in getting Kyler Murray. It's did the Cardinals make the right move in Cliff Kingsbury as the head coach. So you're seeing here Brees, Wilson, Kyler Murray, smaller guys playing in the NFL. The size has not affected them. The size did not bother them. Why? Leaders on the field, leaders in the huddle, leaders in the film room, make plays with their feet, make plays, most importantly, with their arm, win games, win championships, and keep their teams relevant. So when you look at Bryce Young, this is what he does. He makes plays with his feet. He can make plays with his arm. He is very accurate. He's very precise with the football. He's becoming a more vocal leader. He's becoming more so of a leader by example. And we had a conversation on the show, John, with Josh Lanier, former Alabama walk-on wide receiver who committed to Jackson State University to play with Deion Sanders. And Lanier, I spoke to Lanier about, what is it about Bryce Young that intrigues everybody? Like what is it about him? Like, what has sold this entire team that Mac Jones is gone, you've got Bryce Young, this is the guy that can come in, that can come in here and continue the championship train, continue the championship parade, continue things business as usual. And Lanier said, man, look, Bryce has got that Cali swag. He's got that cool, calm demeanor, but Bryce can get real feisty. Like Bryce, his demeanor can switch fast, and he can be really serious. And when he becomes really serious, it kind of catches all of us off guard because we're not known to see him do that. And then we go, okay, strap up, quit lollygagging, quit shucking and driving. He done got serious. Let's go out here. Let's execute this playbook. Let's execute this offense. Let's do we got to do. And when I asked him, I was like, Lanier, how is he out there cussing folks out? Is he out there jumping down folks' throats? Like how does Young turn that switch on and become serious? He's like, man, like his face just turns, right? He'll start off being real cool, real calm, like real, just laid back, like Cali Swag to just lay it back Bryce. But when something needs to change, when something needs to shift, when something needs to happen, he will turn serious and he'll go, guys, enough. Let's go. Let's get going. And the folks are like, oh, snap. He didn't got serious. So then people, they stop playing. They stop, lollygagging around. They go out there and say, Bryce has gotten serious. Let's run this offense. Let's perform this play. Let's perform this drill. And just hearing that from Lanier, Young's ability to be able to, laugh and joke around with guys when it's time to do that, but also when it's time to be serious, when it's time to execute that playbook, when it's time to, get work done on the field and get into that winner's mindset, that winner's mentality, that championship flow, if you will. Bryce can do that also, and that's huge. And that's why I'm saying, to me, his size, not that much big of a deal, because as long as he can be able to extend plays, roll out of the pocket, avoid hits, we know the offensive line, once that whole group gets settled in, they're going to do their job in protecting Young in the pocket, because the offensive line is trying to repeat as Joe Moore Award winner. So you're going to have an offensive line set to go. As long as Young can extend the play, keep the play alive, get the ball to the playmakers downfield, go through the checks and the audibles to keep yourself or to keep the team in the right play, then he's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. He's going to be good. So I understand there have been some people kind of concerned about, oh, he's 5'11", oh, he's 5'10", he's 5'9". I saw this picture of Bryce without the pads on. It's kind of scaring me. It's kind of small, kind of tiny there. Has he put in some weight? Has he put on some muscle? I'm kind of afraid. I don't want him to take that big hit and get injured. People, we've seen Drew Brees in the NFL. We've seen Russell Wilson in the NFL. We've seen Kyler Murray, and still seeing Kyler Murray in the NFL, and still seeing Russell Wilson in the NFL. All of those guys, 6 foot and shorter, all of them having massive success. Brees is going to go into the Hall of Fame. So you look at Bryce Young, I wouldn't put just a whole bunch of stock into this. He has the talent, he has the ability and the capability to take this team and win a national championship with it. But as always, folks, you want the best in news, notes, information, and coverage on your favorite team, your favorite program, the Crimson Tide. You can get this by accessing the Touchdown Alabama Magazine app. You can download the app from the iPhone App Store if you're rocking Team Apple, Google Play Store if you got the Android phone. For your audio listening needs, we got you covered here. iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, Spreaker, TuneIn Radio, Overcast.fm, Google Play, iHeartRadio. We got you covered. We got to shout out Jimmy Clay one more time. That $10 donation to Super Chats helping us out here on the show. Appreciate the love they're coming from Jimmy Clay. As always, Tide fans, you can purchase individual copies of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. I have those sent to your door. That link will be found in the description. If you're also trying to cop the new edition, the print edition of Touchdown Alabama Magazine, you can do this by going to touchdownalabama.com. You click join, become a member, a subscriber today. Last but not least, if you're trying to get your hands on the 4-finger bling necklace, 4-finger bling jewelry, courtesy of our guys at WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com, that link in the description as well. But until next time, folks, husbands love your wives. Wives appreciate, value those husbands. Children continue as the weekend is in, doing the right thing, good thing, fun thing, smart thing, legitimate thing, to not be bored. You grab you those 3 hearty meals a day, those 3 great laughs a day. Protect yourself, protect the loved ones around you. Enjoy the weekend. Until next time, folks, so long, everybody. Spending my own words. Be back on Monday.